What's going on, guys? Michael here at 3D Print Everything, and we are going to unbox a KingRoon KP7. This just came in from my client, so he wanted to put this together here and make sure that he understood how it works and how it kind of goes together and the maintenance of it. So we will start unboxing it. It's always fun for me when I'm like filming something, but I'm looking at it in real life instead of looking at it through the camera. I gotta like remember to like view through the lens of the camera. We'll show you how it's packaged. So we got a top piece there. You want to go ahead and start pulling all this out. So yeah, we'll just take out all this foam. There's our build plate, attached and semi-assembled. Got some beefy Z-rod holders. I do like that they do some nice beefy Z's. Nice. Yeah, you can set that aside on the table there. And just start unpacking all this. Let's see. There's our whole XY assembly. That's the top of the printer. Nice. Here's our extruder assembly. Yeah, throw it over here. Power cables, tools. There's our Z-nuts assembly. That's the Y motor. Here's our Z motor. And this piece comes out. And this is kind of interesting because I was looking at this and I was like, where do these parts come off, right? Like maybe it's the bottom, but the bottom actually doesn't do it. Look at this. So I thought this was kind of inventive. They slid it in like that. Yeah. So here, pull those out. That's kind of neat. Yeah, it's all your frame assembly. I think we got a couple more rods in there. There's our Z rod, and then the two Z alignment rods. Sweet. And then this is all of our plexi for the enclosure. And there's the base. Go ahead and grab that. Let's take that out. Sweet. That's what the base looks like. Yep. Cool. Alright, so I think what we're going to do here is I'll kind of log the time. It is current. Alright, so the time is 2:44 p.m. Right after unpacking. So I'll take kind of snippets of videos and we'll see how long this takes us to put together. The last one it took me, I'm thinking somewhere around 35 to 40 minutes. Now that I've done one, I think it'll go a little bit faster. But I'll be filming different snippets putting this together. So first we'll unpackage everything. So that's what we're going to do first. And start taking the wrapping off everything, and then we'll move on to the next step. Okay, so next step, we've removed all the pieces off of all the wrapping, and that does take a minute. If we check our time, we're at 3:14 now. And this is the instructions that are not in paper. They come on the SD card that comes with the printer. So it'll give you the instructions on how to orient your assembly there, how to put this together, and we are working on that right now. And then next step will be installing those there. So as you can see, we've got the frame just put on. It's 4 pieces here. They say to note to not tighten it all the way yet, so we don't have these fully tightened down yet. The next step, it looks like, is to assemble the Z motor onto here, and then this onto here with the rods. So we're going to do that real quick and get the next step going. So we'll, yeah, what is it? This motor will go like that, just right there. So, and then it's, where is it? Yeah, I believe those small ones right there, yeah. I think, no, it's the teeny ones, right? Let's see, it says up here.
M4, so it just matters by distance.
It's the M410.
M14?
Yeah, so M410 Yeah, there we go. So once we get that on, this will then go into place on the back of it. So we'll show that. But yeah, it's coming together pretty nicely. Just to be clear, the bolts that go here, like in the instructions, the instructions might even be wrong, but it is the M36s. Right? That's what we...
Correct.
Yes. Yeah. The M36 is what will hold our Z motor in place. Okay, so we put the rods mounted from the bottom with the M410s. We now have our anti-backlash nut in place. And what we're going to do is you want to... Oh yeah, I think we needed to do that before we put this in actually. Or at least... Oh shoot. Here, can you kind of catch that? Yeah. There we go. Trying to do this and hold my phone at the same time. Okay, so compress. Here, actually, hold that up. Hold it kind of to the side. And what we're going to do is you want to compress that nut all the way down to where it locks in with itself like that. And then we want to screw this in from the bottom. So yeah, so it's kind of got a little groove there. Yeah, get it into that groove. And then we're going to take this from the bottom here and screw it into it. Honestly speaking, I didn't know that that's how these were even intended to work, so I think there's a couple other printers that I need to do it. So yeah, it should look just like that. So perfect. And then screw that a little bit there into it, and now we'll slide it back down on our rails here. And if you're handling your rails a whole lot, you'll want to wipe the rails down and then re-lube them. You don't want too many of your hands. And when you're going into these, you need to be really careful. You don't want any of these bearings, it's kind of hard to see, to pop off. So we just need to kind of carefully get the angle and bring it up just a little bit. Yeah, go slow, go slow. Okay, good. Yeah, we didn't pop any. You'll know if you end up popping any of those bearings out. It's okay, loosen a couple, but you don't want to lose like 20 of them. If you can put them back in, great. Otherwise, don't worry about it. Now we're going to tighten this one down here, and we can lower that, and we will put it on the printer. Alright, so we got this assembled now. This is how this should look. And you're going to take this and bring it over to your 3D printer here. Bring it down like this. And then we're going to take our hot end wire plug out. That will go in front here. And then, hold on. Then we have this one that needs to be plugged in. So bring it a little bit closer. A little bit closer. And we're going to plug this in. Sorry, my camera skills are amazing. Oh, lost it. Right there. Okay. Now that's in there. Go ahead and slide that in there. Perfect. And then it'll be more of those little nuts there on the side. I'll hold it for you while you put those screws in. Sorry, screws. Well, that will hold your Z bracket there at the bottom. And so we plugged in our bed here. We've got our coupler tightened down. We're putting in the bed bracket at the moment using the M4 M4x4s. So that will be the Z, and then next will be the X-axis. So next we're going to put that up top there. Actually, no, before we do that, what we're going to do is put the Y motor onto this. So right here is your Y belt. The Y motor will mount right here. So we'll put that on, and you're going to tighten it down right there. As soon as I get it mounted, I'll show you how I tighten it. And then that will then go onto the printer. Once you get this mounted, the key here is that you want to leave these loose, and you want real good belt tension here. I mean, that actually feels pretty good. So hand tension might be enough. Just notice how it kind of shifts. So ideally you want it as even as you can. And it should be fine, but it'd be great if you could do some type of leverage right here, but as long as you're leveraging it a little bit, we'll be good. So I'm going to tighten that down now. Okay, so we got this placed on here. It'll be pretty easy even doing it by yourself because it'll rest on these two rods here. So you can start putting in, I recommend doing the frame first, putting in your bolts around the frame. Then you can put your bolts in for the Z, and then you're going to do things like plug in your whole XY assembly to down there. So that plugs in. Make sure that your deal there is plugged in. This little piece is your Z adjustment. This will go right here. And you don't have to go down very far with it. Sorry, my camera skills. Okay, yeah, keep going, putting all those little nuts on. And at this point, you're going to go ahead and tighten all of your frame nuts and your lower frame nut or bolts. So you'll tighten everything down and get it going good. Also, like I do with every other printer, check your extruder, make sure that you don't need to adjust it. Like if you can go back and forth with it and it's not shaking, then you're good. But if it's off, that's where you're going to use this wrench to tighten down your concentric nut on that. Otherwise, do check belt tension on everything else. Everything else seems pretty well. Yeah, all the belts seem real good on this one. So we will tighten that all down and get to the next step. This is also the time where you're going to plug in all of your other extruders. So you have this is actually for your Z and your E. So those things will get plugged in there. Your Y will be plugged in right here. So we'll go ahead and plug that in. That's pretty much it. There's only what? 1, 2, 3, 4 things to plug in. 5 technically, so that's not too bad. Here's a closer look of the extruder assembly. It actually looks like a Creality kind of style extruder and heat break. Not bad. Kind of looking forward to see what the modding community does with the hot end. I think it'll be just fine, but will be interesting to see what changes could be made in the future to it. But nice. We will keep moving. Okay, so we got our plugs plugged in. We just mounted the extruder, 2 bolts here. Extruder goes up. We'll do some simple things like plug that in. So that's plugged in. That actually needs to be tightened down. So we'll tighten that with one of these little wrenches. So you can tighten it with that one. Then you'll have your filament runout sensor plug that will plug in. Go ahead and watch that get tightened. Is that tightening? It's on a swivel. What the heck? Okay, we'll look at that real quick. Okay, the only issue is the extruder nuts weren't fully tightened down. So now that this just isn't wobbling around, I just want to make sure that wasn't wobbling around. So we can put that in place now. We will plug in our deal here and our extruder, and then I believe we're ready to put on the plexi and the filament holder, and we should be close to done. So definitely looks like a printer. There's not much else to do, but we'll go over the leveling and initial setup of it as well. Okay, so printer is all together now. The next step, you plug it in, obviously, and you turn the power on. Now, as we can see, the power's not coming on. That's okay. Don't freak out. You don't have a dead printer. What it is they have not switched over the switch on the power supply from 220 volt to 110. So we're going to flip the printer over and switch the power supply switch. So it'll be 8 bolts. You just take off 2 here, 2 there, 2 and 2, and then we'll be able to get to a switch that's literally right there. Okay, so if you're curious what the inside of the KP7 looks like, this is what it looks like. We have a KingRoon KP3 V13 board in it, and we have our power switch here, runs power from our deal here. Cable management, like I said in my last video, not too bad. I like it. It could be slightly cleaner, but honestly this is really nice for a 3D print company. So as we look, there is a little switch right here. Let me get just a little bit better image of that. So you see 230 on that side, 115 on the other. So you just need to come in here, and if you can't do it with your finger, you just take a tool and you get that little switch and switch it over. If I can do that while on video. Yep, so yeah, see? So now we're on 115, and it will work. Alright. Alright, so we got the bottom switched on and everything. Now to turn the printer on. Beep. It works. Yeah, so definitely don't freak out if it doesn't turn on when you first have it. I definitely did on some of the first printers that I ever experienced that on, but I've had many printers that do that. So some of the first steps, you're going to leave your Z switch kind of backed out pretty decently. I realized that most of the time I bury that, but you don't need to on this one. So we're going to go in here to leveling and hit 0.1. So it'll now do its homing. It is quite quiet. They're using newer steppers than what's in the KP3S and KP3S Pro. So this thing is literally just whisper quiet, which I like. I think the loudest part about it is that beep when it starts up. But yeah, so what? Now we'll just wait for this. We'll go through this full leveling process without me pausing and unpausing the video. But there'll be a little bit of dead space. See, look, they got the sticker more even on this one. Yeah, you got the even sticker face. Okay, so I saw that there. So our springs do need to be compressed. You ideally want your springs quite compressed. And what we're looking for, which is really hard to do with the way this is set up. You got a light on your phone? Let's put an extra light on this. So yeah, go in from down there. We go. So what we're looking for is just the beginning. I can't zoom in this mode, of a gap in between the nozzle and the bed. So that's about right there. All right, we'll do 0.2. Take that down. So, and just so you can see, I'm adjusting this screw here till we have that gap. So that looks like about right there. And then we'll go 0.3. This will let you see it a lot closer, so we can see we're buried right there. And take it right there, yeah. And go, go, go. There, yeah. So now we have a little bit of a gap. This is where some people will teach the paper method. I generally don't teach the paper method at all because people end up getting very reliant on paper and wondering why the paper didn't work and blah blah blah. Okay, so that's interesting. So see, there's about the gap we want, but we have a whole lot of looseness in our spring here. So what we're gonna do to account for that, you don't want it just totally loose to get it down right. You want this tight. So we're going to tighten that down a little bit. Now if that's where it needs to be, then what we're going to do is tighten our Z adjustment screw in the back. So I'm going to come back into the screen. We're going to get a move, and then we're going to move 10 millimeters. We're going to move down. Oh, plus is down. And we'll come up here, and I'm going to tighten this in a little bit. So what that's going to do is that's going to bring the nozzle closer to the bed, and now we'll redo the different points. So now we do all 4 points again, and that should put more tension on that spring there so that it easily goes together. And this is the first step. So the second step, there'll be a brief cut in the video, but we'll go over to the computer and adjust and build a 3D print file, excuse me, to I pressed it with my arm pressed one of these. Looks like I pressed the same one, so that's cool. I think that's about it, right? It's hard to kind of see in the back. Yeah, it's hard to see through the camera, but I can see with my eyes pretty good. So 0.2. Again, hopefully one day I will have a much better camera setup. About right there, 0.3. Should come close to us. We'll tighten that guy. Right about there, 0.4. So somewhere about there is good. We just need a little bit of a visible gap. So what we'll do now is we'll go ahead and heat up the printer. So I'm heating up the extrusion to 200 or 210. I'm going to heat up the bed to 60, and we will take the SD card and go over to our computer. So before we go to the computer, we're going to load some filament in it. So we're going to push some filament through the filament runout sensor. We're going to kind of push it up into here, and as the nozzle is heating, we just about got up to temp. We're going to go in here to settings, filament, and then load. So as soon as heating complete, confirm. So now it's loading. So you just want to kind of shove this up in there till it starts taking it. You might have to twist it, so you might have to twist around a little bit, but you see now it's taking it. Now it loads this filament tremendously slow, so it's probably like a 1 or 2 minute process to load it. So that's where we'll take our memory card now and go over to the computer. Alright, so I'm not showing client information as much as I can. There we go. Alright, so we're going to bring up Cura here, and as of this video, Cura just had an update to 5.2.2, which is great, which I'm actually curious, because on this printer, let me see, if I go open with another app, and then more apps, look for another one on PC, I'm going to type in Cura. So this is how you get Cura to open up. Yeah, 5.22. Then you come down to Cura like that. Open. Cura should just open and then do that. And then you got to do it again. So you go open with, choose another app, and then you can come down. I believe it should just pop up on here, I thought. Maybe it's that one. But anyways, my computer had an issue with whenever I clicked on an STL file getting Cura to open. It used to work, but on the last update it stopped. So I don't know what the deal is with that. But anyways, what you're going to do is go in here to add printer, add a non-network printer. You'll come down to KingRoon, much like we do the KP3S or KP3, ABCDE, FG, HIJK, KP3S, and you can rename it to KP7. You know, I'm going to do 75 since I already have a KP7 in here. Add, and then you're just going to change the build width size. So this is now 250, this one is 220, and this one is 210. So once you change that, you don't have to change anything else. You just hit next. And then in your settings, so if you're brand new to Cura and you're new to this, it's going to look like this. You're going to go ahead in here to custom, and you're going to open all these little tabs here, so that you can see these. If you hover over these, it'll give you a description of what the different instructions do. The one thing that you're going to want to change, you're going to come down here to retraction. You're going to enable retraction, and you want retraction distance. Now retraction distance isn't going to be on here from stock, so you're going to hover over this little bar here, click on that, come over here to retraction distance, retraction speed, turn those on, and you can turn on some of these other ones that you see I've turned on, but you don't have to. And the retraction distance, because this is a Bowden tube, it's somewhere closer to about 6. I haven't done a full tuning of it, and between 40, 45, 60, somewhere is a good retraction speed. Some people have a slower retraction speed. And then personally, Z-hop is an option you can have. This just means that when that nozzle is printing and then it goes to move to print something over here, it actually lifts up, moves over, and comes down. It takes a little bit of extra time, but sometimes that helps if you have parts that are warping just a little bit and you don't want that nozzle hitting it. So that might be useful, but for this case, I'm going to turn that off because I don't personally like it that much. Retraction before outer wall can be good too, but we're just printing with PLA, so we're gonna do 0.2 layer height, 0.4 nozzle. I'm actually gonna do 0.25. I like thicker layer heights. Speed, we'll leave it 60. 60 is a good average. They say this printer will go up to 100, so that would be fine too. On skirt, if you look in my other videos, if you're new to 3D printing, I have a couple videos that go specifically over Cura settings, but we're just going to set a skirt like that. Now I'm going to go in here into extensions and parts for calibration. Now if you don't have this, you don't have that there, it's because it's in Marketplace. So you're going to click on Marketplace, top right, and then you're going to scroll down to calibration shapes, install it. It'll tell you to, once it installs, it'll have you restart Cura, so you'll do that. But once you do that, you can come in here to parts for calibration, grab a bed leveling mesh, and slice it. So you got the card here, so we will put our little memory card in the side of the computer here. Alright, and there's all your instructions and everything else. Once you put an SD card in there, it'll automatically come up saved to removable. So we'll save that. And it saved, your name is right there, so it saved as untitled. So now we can come back to the printer. So this thing is still loading its filament. Christ. Yeah, I mean, one way around that, if you're like not trying to sit here for 5 minutes and have it load filament, is if you can just get it past the first bit of teeth and everything, you can then cancel this, pull back on your actual tensioner arm there, and shove it through. So we haven't got any coming out yet, but I think that's what I'm going to do just so that this can get started. So I'm going to cancel that. You do need it heated though, and when I canceled it, it canceled the heat, so I'm turning the heat back up to 200, and then go ahead and do that. So just pull that back and then push the filament up in it. Is it going? Yeah, cool. I can tell it's almost there. Yep, that's it. Okay, so we got filament coming out, so we're good to go there. We've already warmed up the bed, so it should just start really quickly. I'm going to go over to Untitled and start it. So the whole point of this bed leveling calibration is that you're doing a very flat, large print that will get to each edge, and that will let you see if your printer is level or not, and which corner, and if it's not, how to level it. So it's homing itself, and if you have a little bit from it coming out, you can just kind of knock that off so it doesn't run into it. But you pretty much just want to kind of watch it. So already I can see I need to raise the bed a little bit. And what we're essentially looking for is you want each layer, so we can see here, if you literally see it moving, you can tell it's not close enough. You can also be looking at it from this angle, just to kind of see how it looks. Like I can see a big old gap right there. It's kind of hard to see through the camera, but I am raising the bed right now, and it's better to be a little bit further away from the bed initially so that you can tighten into it rather than being too close and you wind up scratching your bed. You don't want to scratch the bed right as you're beginning it. So this is a really good example. So right here, and I call this the finger test, if you can run your finger over it and it comes off, then you're too far away. And I meant to show right there that was actually too close, but I ripped the whole thing off, so we're good. So now that I've raised it, we can see I can run my finger over across it, and it's not coming up. As long as that's the case, you don't want to run your nail across it, but if you can run your finger just lightly across it and not just immediately pop up off the bed, then you're probably doing all right. So look right here. This is just a little bit too close, so we can kind of see through the filament, and it looks very flat. You know, you want to have good color, a good amount of it. So this one looks a little high. Yeah, see, it's a little high in the back, so we need to raise the bed up. I'm gonna go ahead and pull that back off. See, it was so tight right there, it didn't even continue. So But the key when it's doing this skirt here, you want each layer to just lay flat with each other. You don't want to see gaps in between them, and you don't want to see it so smushed that you're not seeing anything. So we can see right there, that's looking really good. That looks like one line. You can kind of barely see that there's two right there, but that's kind of what we're going for. Yeah, that's looking better. And that's pretty much it. I mean, that's how you level it. So I call this the eye and finger leveling rather than the paper leveling. I feel like it's more reliable. I like teaching people what it's supposed to look like and give you an actual kinetic feel to what it should feel like. Because some people just do the paper, and they're still like, why is it coming off the bed? And it's like, well, if you can just do this and it's coming off the bed, then it's coming off the bed, and you need to get it closer. So if you can physically see that there's a little gap like this, I didn't mean to click that, but I did. I hope that didn't mess it up. No, I didn't. Okay, good. If you can see that there's a little bit of gap, that's where it needs to be a little closer. Now look, that passes the finger test, so it's probably okay, but you do want the bed just a little bit closer so those lines are touching. You do want all of your first layer lines to touch. That is very important. And then things like this, where you might have like it not connecting or something like that, that can be temperature, retraction, speed related. So we just need to kind of check those and see what's going on with it. But otherwise, this is looking really nice and will most likely be a pretty good print to start with. So we'll see how this goes. I could have my temperature just a little too hot, and that's kind of why it's not sticking. Coming out just right. But yeah, no, otherwise that's looking really good. That is essentially how you're going to level this thing. So once you do this, you can start doing any of your other tests. You can start doing a benchy test, and then enjoy your printer. I highly recommend, when you do that parts for calibration, print like 5 to 10 of those. Learn what each one of those means. Print a handful of calibration prints. It'll help you understand your settings a little bit better, help you understand the printer and the printer's limitations better, as well as tuning your settings so that you get much better prints. But yeah, check out the parts for calibration, run a few of those, and then have fun with your KP7 or KP7. I think it's honestly probably the best printer for its price. I mean, where are you going to get a cube printer for 260, 70 bucks or whatever this is? Yeah, you're not. This is just pretty nice. And it's quiet. I love how quiet it is. So anyways, guys, thanks for watching. I will do a follow-up review video on mine. This one, we'll probably do one more test print on it, maybe do a quick cube or something, and we'll be going off to F-Wave with the client to 3D print production parts for them. A lot of prototype parts, actually. But yeah, that's about all I can think about it. Think of anything else? Yeah, me neither. I think that's nice. And I'll mention it in this one. If you wanted to enclose it, and I think my client here was even thinking about it, you could probably get either a tote or a box. Measure this, get something. You could easily put some screws in here if you wanted to screw like a top tote down, cut you a hole for your filament and everything there. Or you could put like hinges here and have a door that swings open, cut out. You do magnets. He was saying, you could put a little clear door here that just pops on and off with magnets. There's different options if you want to enclose it. The enclosures will definitely help with filaments like ABS or polycarbonate. But otherwise, the semi-enclosure will help with a lot of other prints as long as you're not directly having a fan blow on it or your AC vent blow down into it. But otherwise, you can kind of feel that there is a good kind of even bit of heat coming off. And then the last thing I would mention is you could put some type of what do you call it, thermal material underneath the bed. There is like you can use cork, or there's other type of materials, like I'll just briefly show that. That would probably be the only other thing, and a filament sock. So like this one, I've got some type of like thermal material there that just kind of helps hold the heat into the printer. And you do want to have a filament sock kind of like this, which you can get on Amazon. It didn't come with one, but those are consumables. Get 5 or 10, and that'll help with the extruder on the 3D printer there. Anyways, have a good day, guys. Let me know what you think of the KP7. If you bought one or are using this as an assembly or you just checked it out, let me know your thoughts, and we'll see you in the next video.